Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to present this webinar in conjunction with our partners at American Student Assistance to tell you all about NFTE's new Exploring Careers program. Intended for grades 6 through 9, those successfully piloted in higher grades, this program encourages students to reflect on their own passions, values, skills, and strengths to think about what career paths might bring them the most success and long-term happiness. The program culminates in a showcase where students present their future career, educational, and financial plans, as well as the superhero they've created to represent themselves. So let's go through what we're going to do today. We'll start off with some brief introductions so that you know who we all are. Then we'll talk about why NFTE. There's a lot of programs to choose from. Then we'll talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset, the course itself, and the training that NFTE provides to its teachers. And then we'll finish up with a teacher testimonial from one of our star teachers. I'm Christine Ryan, NFTE's Senior Curriculum Development Manager. I've been with NFTE for about 3 years now. Before this, I spent a number of years at an ed tech company, and before that, I spent 17 years in education at the elementary, middle, secondary, and post-secondary levels. I was one of the main engineers of this course. Denise?
Hi, my name is Denise Ferguson, and I'm the Senior Manager of Training and Professional Development. I began my career using my MBA in various corporate roles in the retail and transportation sectors before transitioning to education. I've been with NFTE for over 10 years, first teaching NFTE entrepreneurship courses to middle and high school students in the Dallas Independent School District, before working directly for NFTE as a program manager on the Philadelphia Metro and Southeast Regional program teams. I'm now a part of our Curriculum Research and Training Department. I'm responsible for creating training and professional development opportunities for our teachers. Maya?
Thanks, Denise. My name is Maya Griffith. I teach employability skills and career and college exploration. I'm a 24-year veteran educator with previous experience in journalism and public relations. All of my time in education has been spent in the middle school grades, working briefly with 5th grade for reading and language arts as well. And I really enjoy being able to be a part of the NFTE pilot program on my campus last year and entering year 2 with the NFTE pilot program for exploring careers.
Thank you, Maya. All right, so let's start by discussing why exploring careers is so important in the middle grades. Before creating this program, we conducted a lot of research to find out what our students really needed. We found that very little career exploration took place outside of high school. And unfortunately, that meant that many students felt unprepared to reach their goals and missed out on key experiences when the stakes were low. The Hetchinger report also noted that with the growth of specialized high schools and the expansion of career-focused programs, students today are being asked as early as 13 or 14 to make decisions that could shape their future's careers, which means that career exploration in high school often comes too late. Many states, such as Ohio, Virginia, Wisconsin, and New York City, have put into place requirements for career exploration. Excuse me. Providing such exploration in the middle grades allows students who are still figuring out who they are and how they fit into society to develop a healthy sense of self and place, as well as address limited ideas about what careers exist. In fact, many students only know about the careers that are held by their family members and the people around them, when in today's society, the possibilities are almost limitless. The Hetchinger report noted that based on 2 studies conducted by American Student Assistance, roughly 2/3 of high school graduates said they would have benefited from more career exploration in middle or high school. And 80% of high school guidance counselors said their students were overwhelmed by decisions about college and career. And that's where NFTE comes in.
NFTE is a 38-year-old organization that was founded on the idea that students can develop an entrepreneurial mindset that allows them to succeed in any path they decide to take in life. We work with districts, schools, and community-based organizations across the country and world that serve under-resourced communities to provide curriculum, training, and volunteer experiences that foster the entrepreneurial mindset. Having an entrepreneurial mindset stems from the idea that instead of a fixed mindset where students think that failure is the end, we want to encourage a growth mindset where students ask, where do I go from here? What's the opportunity in this? This growth mindset is so important because 65% of children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in a completely new job type that doesn't yet exist. And a growth mindset will allow them to adapt more easily. NFTE identifies 8 domains of the entrepreneurial mindset. They include initiative and self-reliance, flexibility and adaptability, communication and collaboration, creativity and innovation, future orientation, critical thinking and problem solving, opportunity recognition, and comfort with risk. These key characteristics exhibited by entrepreneurs help to bring individuals success throughout their lives, even outside of running a business, which not all NFTE students will do. All NFTE students and teachers will take NFTE's proprietary and validated entrepreneurial mindset survey, which shows them which domains they are strongest in and which would benefit from further development. As you can see from our data, NFTE's impact is proven. NFTE students grow their entrepreneurial mindsets, allowing them to succeed in the workplace and their lives. 86% of our NFTE alums are employed or actively engaged in furthering their educations. 80% have earned or are earning a college degree or professional certification. 25% of NFTE alumni start at least one business, with many going on to become serial entrepreneurs. And 50% of our alums report that they are earning more than the median salary in the US today.
Thanks, Denise. All right, now let's talk about what. Thanks, Denise. Now that you've heard about the entrepreneurial mindset, you're probably wondering what that has to do with exploring careers. Well, as Denise just said, those mindset domains represent a set of skills necessary for all types of employment, not just entrepreneurship. This mindset enables students to identify and make the most of opportunities, to overcome and learn from setbacks, and succeed in a variety of settings. This mindset can help to instill career readiness, to let vision rather than looking for perfection drive their actions, as well as help them to learn from failure, think creatively, even if these students never plan to start a business. Just as important, the entrepreneurial mindset can help individuals be more flexible and better adapt to the rapid changes in today's job market. So you'll see this beautiful visual on our screen, and this is just another thing that we've put in place to help students figure out what they might be interested in. Now, Denise mentioned that students would take the entrepreneurial mindset survey and they'll get the domains that they're strongest in. So let's say that a student is strongest in communication and collaboration. They can look at the outer ring of this visual, which shows all the different domains. Now that's represented by the speech bubble. So they might look then and see these are the different career and technical education clusters, and they can look at where they match up. So they might want to look into government and public administration, education and training, or hospitality and tourism. Now, I do want to note that I know that the career and technical education clusters have shifted a little, and we're working right now to update this visual, which is another good thing about NFTE. We always try our hardest to remain current and to adjust to new needs. All right, now let's look at the course setup. Now, this course is built so that it can be piped into a learning management system, such as Canvas or Schoology, but we also provide things like slide decks and printable graphic organizers for those who prefer to go a little lower tech. In Unit 1, students will explore the career clusters and sample careers. And then in their labs, they'll put together a career plan first draft, where they use what they've learned in the unit to plan. And focus on finance, will focus on interest-bearing accounts, and in that lab, they'll put together a savings plan. In Unit 2, students will be asked to reflect on their values and strengths as they identify their unique value proposition. In that series of labs, they'll put together a personal superhero that represents all those aspects of themselves. In Focus on Finance, they'll learn about credit reports and credit scores and how they could impact their futures. In Unit 3, students will learn about decision-making, critical thinking, goal setting, and achieving a work-life balance to prepare them for their career. In that series of labs, they'll learn about they'll put together their personal lifestyle brand, and in Focus on Finance, they'll learn about budgeting and put together a budget of their own. In Unit 4, students will learn about verbal, written, and nonverbal communication, as well as active listening and relating to others. In that series of labs, they'll work on selling the brand that they put together previously. The focus on finance lessons focus on take-home pay. And then in Unit 5, our students learn about technology. Now, we at NFTE know that technology is always changing. So rather than focus on specific tools, we focus more on etiquette and types of technology like assistive technology and communicative technology. In those labs, they'll put together a final draft of their career plan, building on what they started in Unit 1. Focus on finance, then we'll talk to them about the importance of long-term saving and help them to put together a savings plan. And then, as previously mentioned, there's a series of labs at the end that helps them to put together their career showcase. This is where they learn about pitching and they put one together and they put together a visual to go with their pitch and they do some practicing and get feedback from their peers. Now let's think about the individual lesson setup. Now, each of our lessons and labs is intended to be 45 to 50 minutes long. Let's say that you have a longer period on a specific day. You could combine 2 lessons or 2 labs to meet that time. It's really flexible. And each lesson goes through the same series of things. So it starts with an opener to get students interested and engaged, and then we give them any important vocabulary they'll need for that lesson. Then they go through the foundations, which is really the heart of what they need to learn. Then we provide them with some extensions, which are videos and articles by professionals. And that gives them a way to learn a little bit more if they're struggling or if they're just really interested in something. And then it follows up with a brief exploration activity that gets them again talking and moving and thinking, and follows with an exit ticket so that teachers can really gauge where their students are in their learning. Now, you've heard a lot from me about what I think about the program, but I built it. So let's see what our students thought. And this is so important. A recent article by Jenny Anderson for The Atlantic commented on increasing student disengagement at school. One study found that 85% of middle school assignments merely asked students to recall information or apply basic skills rather than pushing them to engage at a higher level. The students got bored and they didn't understand the point of doing the work because they weren't challenged and they didn't feel rewarded when they finished. And NFTE understands the importance of engaged students, which is why our Exploring Careers program is highly interactive. We really want to push students to think differently and step outside of their comfort zones. And our pilot students were indeed engaged. In a post-program survey, they had a lot of positive things to say, but they noted the following in particular as their activities they enjoyed the most. First was the career pitch, where they were asked to pick a career and pitch it to their peers, talking about what was required and the benefits of it. They also loved goal setting, where they set their own personal short-term and long-term goals for their education, finances, and futures. They loved creating their personal brands, where they created and sold their personal superhero and told what it represented about them. Acting out, which asked them to act out nonverbal communication cues and have others guess the message that they're sending. I can imagine that was pretty amusing. And then the TV show script, where students envisioned their class as a TV show, and they were tasked with casting and writing stage directions and scripts. Now, in addition to all of these different pieces, NFTE also includes a lot of other resources. So we talked a little bit about the extensions already, but we also have in-course partner content from places like Intuit that give us finance cahoots and then Find Your Why slide deck to help extend what students are learning. We also have some amazing videos from American Student Assistance that explores things like human rights defense, social media and music, film directing, and video game development, some things that a lot of students would be interested in. These videos are basically a day in the life of those career workers. And they also provide Futurescape, which is a kind of futuristic video game that kind of leads them to career ideas in a totally different way. And then we also have a lot of teacher resources, which Denise is going to talk about in a minute, because she's going to actually tell you about the training that NFTE provides to its teachers so that they feel prepared once they're ready to teach this in the class.
Right. Well, training for the Exploring Careers program is a part of NFTE University, or as we like to say, NFTE. As with all our NFTE courses, the objective is for trainees to learn about NFTE and our mission, investigate the core elements of NFTE's programs, and experience the program as a NFTE student would. The Exploring Careers training course is an asynchronous training on our Canvas Instructure platform. We approximate this flexible training to take about 12 hours. At the end of the training, teachers will have learned not just about the Exploring Careers course, but perhaps also about a new way they can teach their students to be lifelong learners. We want teachers to model and be able to instruct students on how they engage in their own learning and explore the possibilities for their future. The training course begins with a welcome and general information about NFTE. This is followed with NFTE's framework, the entrepreneurial mindset, project-based learning, and lean startup principles. In the framework sections, teachers will dive further into these concepts, including taking the EMI survey mentioned earlier, so that they too can see what their top or most challenging entrepreneurial mindset domains might be. In addition, they'll understand how project-based learning and lean startup principles can reinforce or help to strengthen domains like critical thinking and problem solving, flexibility and adaptability, and others. Once the NFTE framework is reviewed, an overview of the Exploring Careers course is given, including the goal, setup, and curriculum. You've heard Christine discuss much of this earlier. This is followed with work on one key lesson and corresponding lab from each of the 5 units, aimed at helping teachers to experience creating a plan for a newly imagined career. This also prepares teachers to anticipate any obstacles students might face when they're going through the program. You may notice the second to last module on this list is called Supplemental Resources. Let me tell you what that's about. The Supplemental Resource module in the training course is a list of resources that teachers can expect to receive as an additional module in their official Exploring Careers course upon completion of training. In the official course, the module is entitled Teacher Resources. It is viewable only to teachers, which means it remains unpublished, and teachers can utilize it to put together their Exploring Careers course. It includes things like a quick reference guide with general information like unit overviews and pacing suggestions to get teachers started. A whitelist to allow websites linked to the course through any firewalls your IT department has in place. The answer key to the Focus on Finance lesson explorations. A teacher feedback survey that should be completed after Unit 5 and the personal brand showcase. Some classroom posters or anchor charts, if you will, that can be printed and laminated to put up in your classroom, and a few other alumni and partner resources to support teachers and your students. Once teachers have completed this training, they will be provided with a NFTE certified badge by Credly. Credly is a platform by Pearson that creates, issues, and manages digital credentials to recognize the achievements of learners. Badge earners can then display their verified skills on their various communication formats. Now, instead of taking our word for how amazing the program is, let's hear from one of our teachers.
Thanks, Denise. I learned about NFTE a little over a decade ago while observing a colleague's Principles of Marketing, Business, and Finance high school credit class. It was so inspiring to see the 8th graders developing business plans, conducting SWOT analyses, preparing pitch presentations, discussing interest rates. And one thing that struck me was how their teacher was serving as more of a facilitator than a lecturer or a sage on the stage. I watched him move between student groups to provide insight and guidance as needed and just really have a hands-off approach as the students were able to dig into what NFTE was offering for their entrepreneurship curriculum. When my principal approached me about the NFTE Exploring Careers curriculum, I jumped at the opportunity to expose my middle schoolers to the program. The NFTE Exploring Careers curriculum materials offered a comprehensive yet customizable options for my scholars. The course began with a brief but impactful overview of the career fields, along with career assessment tools that helped my students get reacquainted with their previously identified top career clusters. The entrepreneurial mindsets that Denise mentioned are embedded in each lesson, helping to unlock my students' understanding of the connections between their values, their skills, their interests, and their current career aspirations. Helping students embrace those mindsets was not intended to solely highlight entrepreneurship, but it helped my students acknowledge that they already possess some of these skills right now. The exploration activities in each of the lessons provide ample opportunities for small group collaboration, as well as in-class presentations. And I refer to those as our mini showcases. And I'll pause right here. The NFTE curriculum is rigorous and requires students to do something that would seem to come naturally, to think or talk about themselves. They're teenagers. And as shown in the images on screen, students get more and more accustomed to standing before their peers and presenting their ideas through the NFTE activities and lessons. And by no means are we a perfect campus. So yes, we do have some students who are reluctant, and you may get pushback from your students who are not accustomed to or don't feel comfortable with sharing about themselves. And that's understandable. It's tough to reveal your hopes, your dreams, your concerns, or even your reflections in front of peers at the secondary level. In peer life, just being middle schoolers, acceptance is everything. On one occasion, one of my quieter students, whose direct manner had repelled many, almost all of his peers, well, he shared during one of our mini showcases. Now, this was later on in the school year, and so more of the students were comfortable in their small groups. They had a better rapport, but this particular student was still considered a bit of an outsider. When he took to the stage to address his peers and share the character he had developed for one of the labs, he spoke with such conviction that the room fell completely silent. And I had pretty large classes, anywhere from 24 to almost 30 students. So his classmates were hanging on to every word as this young man became this character that he created. And the dedication and the diligence he displayed while working toward this mini showcase was evident. And the roaring applause for the student's performance was proof that he was finally heard. His classmates looked at him differently after that presentation. Even now, we're in a whole different school year. But now I've observed his interactions with peers are more positive and more frequent. The way he presents himself now, whether in a classroom setting or in front of the entire middle school audience for our campus, he exudes so much more confidence. And I definitely credit the NFTE Exploring Careers program opportunities for affording him this growth. So the exploration activities, along with the final showcase, which again was referenced earlier, this can truly foster an environment for student agency and voice. And so all roads lead to the final showcase. It's the culmination of the Exploring Careers curriculum. And I tell the students from the very beginning that everything we're doing is working toward our final showcase. Our students are preparing and presenting their own concepts. They're using so much of the content that they created along the way in previous lessons. And it was just really inspiring to see our students share their own personal value propositions, as well as business concepts that they developed in relation to their career aspirations at the time. So in addition to the career and technical education courses, the NFTE curriculum reaches across content areas to address reading, writing, listening, speaking, math skills, and focus on the finance lessons at the end of each unit. So we really do reach across and support the other content areas. You will know your students, and you know you have the flexibility to modify assignments as needed. As Denise shared, there are materials provided in the teacher resources area. There are extensions, as Christine alluded to earlier. There are extensions, and there are beautifully curated videos and other materials that NFTE has worked so hard to provide to make sure that every student has an opportunity for growth, for excellence, and to really just embrace the growth mindset. With that said, I just want to say thank you all for allowing us to be a part of the pilot program, and we really are enjoying the full experience this year as well.
Thank you, Maya. And thank you, everyone that joined us. We really appreciate you. If you find that you have any questions or you want more information, or even if you want a live run through of the course, please reach out to us at getstarted@nifty.com. Thank you again so much.